Welcome back to Microlearning. This is Lesson 29, Brainstorming Responses, Prepare. Lesson 29 builds on Lesson 28, so if you haven't seen Lesson 28, you might want to look at that first. To understand the actions of a person with dementia, we need to try to see the reasons why a person is acting that way. Then we know what we can do or say to respond and help them. In the last lesson, we practiced brainstorming why with the example of Mrs. Caputo. Mrs. Caputo wanted to go home, and we brainstormed possible reasons why she might be acting that way. In this lesson, we'll brainstorm what we can do to help Mrs. Caputo. How might we respond to her? But before we start brainstorming about how to respond to an action or reaction, we need to ask ourselves a few questions. Do I need to do anything about this? Is this a matter of health and safety for anyone? Another way to ask this is, whose problem is it? Maybe the action is not a problem for the person with dementia, we just think it is a problem for us. If the action is not hurting the person with dementia or anyone else, perhaps it is not a problem for anyone. It is just the way a person communicates with their actions. For example, we see that a person with dementia is walking around the building and we call this wandering. But if the person is walking around because he likes to walk, is this behavior a problem? If it's not a matter of health or safety, the response might be to accept that the person likes to walk and not try to keep him from walking. In the case of Mrs. Caputo, she wants to go home. We probably need to do something because it could be a matter of health or safety. Mrs. Caputo might hurt herself by banging on the windows. If Mrs. Caputo tries to leave the building by herself, she could get lost or hurt. Mrs. Caputo is upset, so we want to make her feel better. We want to respond to the need that she is communicating. As we brainstorm how to respond to the actions of a person with dementia, there are three ways we can think about responding. They are prepare, prevent, and present. Prepare is about brainstorming how I can prepare myself or others to respond before an action happens. Prevent is about how an action or reaction might be avoided in the first place. Present is about how we can respond to the person in the moment when the action happens. In this lesson, we will focus on prepare. There are some actions of a person with dementia that you might expect to happen. Preparing might help you prevent the actions. However, if you can't prevent them, you need to be prepared to make sure you're ready for when they happen. For example, you might know that Mrs. Bryson, a person with dementia, always gets upset after her daughter visits. She cries and says she wants to see her daughter. So knowing this might happen, you might prepare for this by making sure Mrs. Bryson has something to do that she really enjoys as her daughter is leaving, like making flower arrangements. To prepare, you might need to find out what she enjoys and what other coworkers have tried. So let's review some of the reasons we brainstormed in the last lesson that might explain why Mrs. Caputo was saying she wanted to go home. And then let's brainstorm how we might prepare ourselves or others to respond to her action. Maybe communication is the reason behind why Mrs. Caputo is saying she wants to go home. Maybe this is how she's explaining that she's worried about her girls, or she can't find the words to say she's lonely and scared. She might also be reacting to the way people are communicating with her. So if we think communication reasons might cause her to say she wants to go home, we might prepare by thinking about how we can best communicate with Mrs. Caputo. What makes her feel better when she's upset? What should we not say to her? Ask your coworkers what they've tried and what works. Unmet needs might cause Mrs. Caputo to say she wants to go home. Unmet physical needs might be things like needing to go to the bathroom or being hungry. Unmet emotional needs might be feeling like she doesn't have purpose. If we think unmet physical needs might cause her to say she wants to go home, we can prepare for this by knowing her daily routine. When she likes to get up, when she needs to go to the bathroom, when she gets hungry. That way we can be one step ahead of her and make sure we are available to meet her needs. With unmet emotional needs, we can prepare by thinking about how we can give Mrs. Caputo a sense of identity, connectedness, security, autonomy, meaning, growth, and joy. And these are things we can do for Mrs. Caputo all the time, not just to respond to a specific action. Overall, we can prepare for any action by knowing the person, who they are, what they like, and what they don't like. We went over just some of the ways we can prepare to respond to Mrs. Caputo. They might work to help her or not, and we might have to try something else. Because there are many possible reasons behind the actions of a person with dementia, we might need to try many different responses to see what works to help them. Just like each person is an individual, each response might be individual to that person. This is person-centered care. In Lesson 30, we will see how we can respond by trying to prevent the actions. Congratulations on completing Lesson 29, and remember, there are superheroes in each one of us. Thank you for all you do.